Well, guys, I had to wait because somebody had his own live stream to do before he could join up. But we are here. As you guys know, I am now going weekly. And actually, the man below me is the first one of the Tuesday night rotation that we're going to be doing going forward, which is only fitting because his partner was first to come on the show way back last year. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're just going to get into talking fishing.
What's up, y'all? This is Zach from Dark Horse Tackle. Glad to meet you. Glad to see you. Well, I can't see you, but I'm glad to be here otherwise. So what's up, buddy?
Not much, dude. So I was watching your live and I was actually kind of like almost cussing you out before, and then I realized why. I heard the you had to do all the boxes this month, and I put an order in. I put an order in for that eBay custom that he designed for you guys, and then another one of his baits. And it took like way longer than it normally takes for you guys to ship to me. And I was like, I wonder what the hell is taking so long. And then I was watching your live tonight, and I was like, oh, he had to put out all the boxes himself. So I kind of
we got jammed. We got jammed up. Normally we ship within 48 hours of an order being made. We're pretty quick on that, and we are actually streamlining the process here to be even quicker because I want things to go out within 24 hours or less. And that's coming soon. I'm actually right now. Okay, so if you buy from the bait shop, your package is being shipped out of Ohio.
Okay.
That comes from Josh's house.
Gotcha.
If you are subscribed, 9 times out of 10, your box is coming from Pittsburgh. Okay. So what happens is once a month, and for the longest time, it was exactly the opposite before we had a bait shop. But once a month, Josh comes to Pittsburgh from Columbus, and we get together, we do some fishing, we pack boxes, and then I send them out. Gotcha. But our inventory goes back to Josh's, and then that's pretty much Josh's. That's like his thing. That's his. Excuse me. That's his big job. is to make sure that packages from the bait shop get out. We went down there and literally turned his basement into a tackle shop. There is grid wall on 3 sides of the entire basement. Pegs, the whole 9 yards. Trying to make it a little bit better. But yeah,
the same. It's the only way to organize baits, man. It really is.
It really is. It really is. You think bins are cool. You think boxes are will do, but they won't.
Nope.
They won't. You will have baits guaranteed. If you do not have baits on pegs, you are going to end up with baits that are 6, 7, maybe even a decade old that you completely forgot about.
That's why I built that, because I was going to the tackle store and buying baits that I didn't need because I had an entire Tupperware of bins on a shelf that I didn't know I had, because I mixed the wrong color on top. So I'm like, oh, I don't have any June bug worms left. And then I look at the box, I'm like, oh, these are all black blue. So I go buy more. And then I learn, oh, well, it actually had a whole bottom half of this.
Yeah. So it's actually, it's not talked about all that often, but almost every angler suffers from a disease. And it's called front of the shelf paralysis. So the best way I can describe it is it's exactly the same thing that happens whenever your teenage kid, or even yourself, opens the fridge and goes, "There's nothing to eat."
Yep.
There's all kind of shit in there.
Yep.
You just can't see it because you got front of the shelf paralysis.
Exactly, dude. It's funny because the one thing I've noticed about having it on pegs too is that like when I'm sitting here editing videos and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go fishing on Saturday, and you spin around and you go, maybe there's a curly tail worm bite because you see it. Like when you see, because I mine's organized but not organized in the sense of like I have like similar styles of baits in a row. So then like I can be like, oh, okay, so like my jigs are on one side, my worms are in the middle, curly tails, paddle tails. So like I can be like, oh, maybe I should throw the 5-inch paddle tail instead of the 3-inch because I have 5 of them up there. Why not grab them? The only problem I have is that then what happens is I grab like a handful, throw them in my truck, either forget them in my truck or I transfer them from my kayak to my truck, and now I have a pile in the back of my truck because I've transferred them back and forth and then maneuvered them. And like I switch, like a lot of times I'll go from like a smallmouth lake to a largemouth lake, so I'm switching out some of the plastics for, I'm not using a 12-inch curly tail for a smallmouth, so I'm switching the stuff up.
I actually, 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, I spent a ton of money. I was shocked at how expensive they were, and they're still that expensive. But I bought, I want to say, 15 Busby 3700 Busby boxes. But oh my God. Yeah, they changed the game for me. Love those things. They're fantastic because I have most of those boxes have baits in them, a certain category of baits in them, right?
Yep.
And if I know I'm going somewhere that I'm going to need that category, then I just grab it. But I have like 2 or 3 boxes that I just will open them up and move the little compartments around for where I'm going and just grab one box and go. And it's got everything in it. I freaking love them. I actually rolled my canoe. This is before I got a kayak. I'm a kayak angler now. But yeah, so I rolled my canoe, and dude, not one drop of water in any of those boxes. They were awesome. Absolutely 100% waterproof. They're so waterproof that they float. Yeah, fantastic.
Which is that's actually one of my biggest paranoias of like, I don't stand much in my kayak, not because my kayak's not stable, but because I'm not stable. So like, I'm more worried about me dumping myself than the kayak dumping me. And another reason is a lot of the boxes that I currently have are waterproof, but they're really not.
Right.
Those
right.
real true waterproof ones literally will float, like you said. So that actually adds some security when you're in a kayak because,
dude, my terminal tackle, my terminal tackle Busby box, which is literally full of lead.
Yeah, those floated. Terminal boxes are heavy.
It floated.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, good stuff, dude. Good stuff. Absolutely good stuff.
So I don't know if you saw this just now, but we had somebody join that you might recognize the name.
Oh man, what is up, Stone Man?
How you doing? He's actually the tournament director for my trail.
You know what, Pete? What are you doing, man? You want to paint? We're looking for somebody. We're looking for somebody for August, and it's been a while. We'd love to get you in, buddy. Get a hold of me, or I'll get a hold of you. It's gonna happen. I'm glad he popped in here, man. That actually just answered a question that I've been going through in my head.
That's nice. Funny.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of started talking to Pete a little bit. I picked him up. He started talking on a live. He jumped into one of my lives, and I was actually trying to get him on the show at one point. And then Chris from eBay was giving me shit because he was on my live, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I thought he was like legitimately mad at me for a day or so before Chris like admitted that he was just fucking with me the whole time.
Dude, it's Chris. You'd have to do something really terrible.
Dude, yeah.
You'd have to do something really, really, really terrible to make Chris actually upset with you. I believe.
He's one
either
of the
that,
dudes,
either that, or he is the most in control of his emotions person I've ever met in my entire life.
No, he
smokes a lot of pot.
He's the most genuine dude. Like
He
I
is,
met
dude.
him
He is.
literally. I met him because I went to the Jigs and Bigs in Springfield 2 years ago,
Nice.
and he was the booth behind them. And I was like just talking to him and just talking fishing, and then like slowly built a relationship, and then like we hung out at that Jigs and Bigs
Mm-hmm.
200 show, and then like he keeps trying to get me to go up to the St. Lawrence, but I'm like, dude, that's like 4.5 hour, 5 hour drive. I'm like, I gotta like take time off because if I'm going up there, I'm taking like three,
Yeah,
four
you want to go.
days.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
want to
gonna
go.
go up there for a single day and then have to drive home in a hurry to
That's
get back to
actually
work.
that's something that Josh and I go back and forth about quite a bit. So Josh out there in Ohio, he has water everywhere. All right, Pete. All right, Pete. Listen, tomorrow is an attitude adjustment day for me, which is something we can talk about. I am taking off work and I'm going fishing right in the damn middle of the week, so I'm probably not going to be doing too much anything else but that. But so maybe tomorrow night, man, I'll get a hold of you. Let's talk. Let's find something. We want you for August. Anyways, but Josh has water everywhere. Like you cannot go for a 1 block walk anywhere where Josh lives and not fall into a pond. It just doesn't happen. So literally Josh can be like, "Oh, I've got like 2 hours, I'm going fishing."
Yeah.
That is not how it is for me. Um, the closest lake to me that is worth its salt is 45 minutes. So basically that's an hour. So you got 2 hour round trip. Dude, I drive a very thirsty truck. I'm not driving an hour for fishing for 2 hours. I'm
No.
going all day.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it's like. Like, I don't care if it's shit weather. I don't care if it's cold. I don't care if it's hot. I don't care. I just spent the money. I'm going there. I am fishing.
Yeah.
Even if I don't catch shit all goddamn day, I am going to try.
Dude, it's funny because I'm kind of like the mix of both. So my home lake is 20 minutes, 20,
Mm-hmm.
25 minutes from my house. It has everything from, it's actually where I'm fishing that Jigs and Bigs slot tournament. So like there's places that I can catch, dinks all day long, but then there is 5 and 6 pounders in there. Like the first Slay Nation tournament was there this year and we did 94 inches in May. So like
Mm-hmm.
you can get bigs, but you can also get a lot of fish. But the funny part is what's weird about that is because it's so close to my house, I don't like right now, I don't fish there much because I'm sick of it. Because I'm like it's the same like my biggest thing about fishing is if I ever became like independently wealthy, like won one of these big Powerballs or something, I
Mm.
would just go travel and fish places because my favorite thing to do is to go to a place I've never been and catch a
Absolutely.
bass. Like
Absolutely.
no knowledge, just throw me into the water and let me try to figure it out. That right there is my favorite thing to do because it's an ego and a competition thing. Like these
Yeah,
guys
man.
that catch fish on your home lake, like don't get me wrong, guys that catch 10 pounders on their home lake, they're heroes too. But that's one thing that I learned about doing tournaments. You get humbled real fucking fast because if you're
Absolutely.
fishing your home bodies of water and you're like, oh, I'm a pretty good angler. But then when you go to somewhere that you don't have the control over where you're going, and like I'm at the point now where like I'm like you though, like I go all day and the content side too. So I only fish Saturday, Sunday, but I'm looking to make 2 or 3 videos every time I go fishing. So like I'm leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, regardless of tornado, hurricane, thunder, lightning. Like I'll get off the water when the lightning starts popping off, but I'm standing on shore waiting for it to stop, and then I'm heading right back out. Like that's how I operate. But when you start doing tournaments and you hit this body of water that you've never fished in that condition and you're able to place top 5, that's my like gauge of
Yeah.
whether you have skill.
Now you've got some skill. Yeah, if you can do that, you absolutely have some skill. No, I love fishing new water. It is probably my most favorite thing to do. That being said, I've got a very soft spot in my heart for my water.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
I've got 2 places that I consider my water. One of them is Lake Arthur. It's about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It's about a 4,000 acre lake.
Okay.
And the other is the Pocomoke River in Maryland,
Okay.
which is 2 blocks from my parents' house. It is a tidal river, and it is also the northernmost blackwater river in America. So it's got, it's tannic. It's got the cypress trees all over it and everything else, and it's something else. But those are my 2 favorite places, and I will always love to go there. But no, absolutely no. You can't beat fish in new water. Paige, I don't know if you know who I'm talking about or not. One of our pro staff members, or one of our, I think it's our newest pro staff member. But anyways, she is a big river angler, and does a lot up on the upper Allegheny. But they actually, her and her boyfriend found this lake, and I'm going to say it's probably maybe 1,500 acres tops, not a very big lake. And I just went out there, and dude, it's probably about an hour and 15, hour and a half from my house. But dude, it was so much fun. It was a completely different fishery. So my lake, Lake Arthur, is pretty solidly silted in. There's a ton of vegetation, and most of it, you got open water in the dead center of the lake, which the dead center lake's pretty big. But there's a lot of milfoil, there's a lot of coontail, there's a ton of lily pads. It's not very deep in most places. Tops like 15. When you get to the dam, the very deepest part is 40 feet, but that's not very big. And I've learned to fish a certain way there. You're fishing grass. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but I went to this other lake called Tamarack, and dude, it's got rocky bottom all over the place. It still has pads and stuff here and there, but not very much grass. And it's just a completely different world. You can do so many different things there. And I was freaking out. I was like, dude, this is the place I want. I need to go here more often, because that's where I'm going to test out most of the hard baits. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of neat stuff you can do. So yeah. That is, oh, I just got an order.
I was going to say, are those Dark Horse orders?
Yeah. That's exactly what that is.
That's awesome.
But yeah, dude, it's like a dopamine hit. So I've got the notification. It sounds like a cash register going off.
Oh, I don't blame
So
you.
every time somebody orders from darkhorsetackle.com, no matter where I'm at, if I got my phone in my pocket, I hear that ching, and I get that little dopamine hit. Yeah, it's kind of cool. But no, it really is amazing. So I've got a place near me. It's 10 minutes from my house. I call it Poop Creek. Chartiers Creek. It runs through downtown Carnegie, which is urban.
Yep.
Straight up. And dude, I catch badass smallies out of there. But it's like a rocky little creek, you know what I mean? And then we've got the Ohio River. We've got the Ohio, the Monongahela, and the Allegheny. They all come together in downtown Pittsburgh. That's just a completely different world of fishing.
Yeah.
Completely freaking different. It's deep. You know what I mean? A lot of
that's
times
big. That's big boy water. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're dealing with barges and pleasure boaters and all kind of shit. It's crazy as hell. Then you've got my lake, Lake Arthur, which is more grass than it is water. But no, going to different lakes at different times, it's like a new level, right? If you were you want to compare it to a video game, it's like a new level. You know what I mean? There's all new shit. There's all new shit.
And that's honestly so why I started doing tournaments. That's why I started doing tournaments, because when I went down, I did the MAKB last year. Mm-hmm. And Massachusetts water is entirely different than Vermont water. And we're not talking, 2 hours away. And I mean, you came through, you probably came through Vermont to go to Mass. You wouldn't necessarily, if somebody blindfolded you and threw you at a boat ramp in Vermont and then threw you at a boat ramp in Mass, you probably wouldn't know what state you were in as far as how they're laid out. But when you get on the water, a lot of the lakes in Mass don't have a ton of grass. Like a lot
Rock.
of them are rock bottom. I don't, around me here, I have almost all of it's grass and heavy largemouth lakes. So I had to like relearn, because in my mind, like my go-to search bait's a swim jig because I'm
Mm-hmm.
normally fishing submergent grass and I don't want to have to be picking salad out of treble hooks all day.
Right.
But when you go to like the my next tournament is on a body of water, it's 3 hours away. And I drove up there to practice it, and there's only really one section of the whole lake that has grass. The rest of it is rock bottom, and it's actually got like a lot of like one section of it was not part of the lake originally, and they'd flooded it, so it's got a lot of those old like root balls and like stumps and all of that. And I'm not used to fishing that kind of stuff, so like I'm gonna have to go back up again because I went up there kind of outfitted like I normally would be, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is more crankbaity and like different kinds of styles of baits. I'm not gonna be able to do the, and that's what I learned is like I actually have gotten to the point now where I fish enough that I've also gotten to the point where like if I've gotten so detailed that I'm like, oh, if there's a west wind and it's cloudy, I'm gonna go fish Lake A because they bite back. Like I've gotten enough stats gathered where like I'll pick lakes based on the weather conditions, but when you're doing a tournament, you don't get that option. It's
Right.
oh,
Right.
I'm here and shit, it's a south wind and pouring rain, but the time I practiced was clear sky, so
But
you don't have that information.
you can take all those little pieces from all those little lakes.
Yep.
And you can put them together, and they may not exactly fit, but sometimes you can mash the pieces together a little bit and come up with something.
Yep. That's honestly, that's the biggest thing. Is that's actually one of the things I say on my channel a lot to people is like when you're having a shitty day, like you're not catching fish.
Dude, I gotta interrupt you. How the hell do I turn off this thing that keeps making my picture move? It's driving me nuts.
It might be, I'm not sure if that is your camera or if it's the, it might be a setting in your
It's
camera.
called center stage is what it's called.
Okay.
And I know what it is, but I don't know how to turn it off. All right, never mind. Sorry.
It's probably in the driver for your camera, I'm guessing, but.
Because see, oh, it's not doing it now. Oh, no, there it goes. A little bit. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, you're good. You're fine.
We're like making an epic movie here. It keeps zooming in on me.
Yeah, it's like mood.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what I was even saying, but trying to think of. So actually, to be honest, that's why I ordered the Dark Horse stuff. That's why I ordered those baits, was because this place supposedly has, and I have a buddy who sent me photos to prove it, 19-inch smallies and 19-inch largemouth. Like he sent me multiple photos for multiple days. Yeah. So like
this is a big, scary freaking bait.
And it is, but that's the thing. What's the one thing I had to teach myself, and that's something that I made the misinterpretation of, is I always thought like you have to go uber small with smallmouth to catch smallmouth, but that's not true. Smallmouth are freaking pit bulls, and they will eat a fucking 8-inch glide bait for no reason other than they want to kill it. Like
correct.
They're so aggressive that like that's the one thing I had to learn, because it's funny because being from Vermont, everybody's like, oh, you must catch a lot of smallmouth. Actually, no. I catch more largemouth than smallmouth because I avoid Champlain, because unless it's like, because I do have a bass boat, but I have a bass tracker that's 18 foot. But if it's blowing on Champlain, my trolling motor's underpowered and I can't fish it because I won't be able to go anywhere. My trolling motor doesn't have enough pounds of torque to be able to like move me in a big wind. And on Champlain, you go from bluebird skies to 4-foot waves in 30 minutes because those storms whip down through there. So like I just stay away from it. So I fish a lot of places that aren't Champlain.
On my home lake, Lake Arthur, which is mine just anybody that ever fishes that lake, just remember that it's mine. So if you see me, just remember it's mine. But anyways, on my home lake, I mean, I've seen 2-footers because because it is shallow.
Yeah.
It gets up pretty quick, but never like Lake Erie stuff, never Champlain stuff, nothing like that. But dude, it does get up quick. It does get up quick. And
what
what
sucks
blows my
about Champlain
mind,
is it goes cross too. You get those like
gotcha.
those waves. Those are the worst. I've been on Lake Ontario. Like I grew up king salmon fishing on Lake Ontario. So like big waves don't really intimidate me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being safe, but like big swell stuff like that, I deal with it. But with like Champlain, the problem is Champlain is technically a river, but it flows north. And what happens is you got a lot of wind that comes out of the north that blows against the current, and then it creates these weird like jogging waves. So when you get an east or west wind with a north current, you get these waves that are like you'll be hit one way, you get that washing machine deal. And
Gotcha.
in a 10-foot kayak, it's nightmare. In my bass boat, because my freaking trolling motor's underpowered, I've been literally sitting in the middle of the lake with my trolling motor on high going backwards because I can't
That's crazy,
keep
man.
the power. So I just don't do it. But it's funny because everybody's always like, oh, you must fish Champlain a lot. I haven't fished Champlain in a year and a half because I have ponds that are 200 acres that no one fishes that I can catch 5-pounders in. I'm not going to go deal with the big water when I can go half the distance and catch just as good a quality fish. And that's, I think, the thing that people miss out on. And I think that's the thing that actually Drew is really opening people's eyes to is all these like other places that you can fish that exist. Like the places you're talking about. I haven't really heard of those. I've heard of them, but not really.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like, you don't realize
it's not
what
a
quality of
destination.
fish can be in a place unless you go there.
They're not destination lakes. They're not Lake St. Clair. They're not Lake Erie. You know what I mean? They're not a destination lake. Like you're not taking the family to Lake Arthur. For a couple of days to have a vacation. Like you're not doing that. So no, and honestly, that's kind of a good thing, you know what I mean? Lake Arthur is the closest lake to Pittsburgh. So let me tell you where everybody that from Pittsburgh goes when they want to fish. Like Lake Arthur gets enough pressure, buddy.
Well, and that's the thing though, is that's the difference though. So like my home lake, right? And notice I say home lake because I'm very like guarded about names because about half of the people in my chat live in Vermont. But there's difference between a rec lake and a fisherman's lake. There's a lot of lakes that have both, but there is some lakes that the majority of the people you're going to meet at the ramp are there to fish, and there's just a different level of respect that I can handle. There's some places that I cannot fish from June 1st on because I'm more likely to catch an assault charge than I am a fish. It's just that's how it is. I just cannot deal with people that like, and it's not even like people that don't understand. It's just like guys that like park. Like one of the biggest ones that drives me nuts is like we get a lot of these like rec kayak guys that'll park sideways in front of the ramp and then take their entire kayak down and build out their whole kayak and then load their kayak into the water, and then like they take 20 minutes to launch it. Whereas I grew up in a world where I went to Lake Ontario during their big fishing derby in August, right? They're launching 4 boats at the same time, and if you're not out of there in 3 minutes, someone's going to drag you out of your truck and park your truck up at the ramp and push your boat out of the lake so that they can get their boat in. They don't play. So like I'm not used to having to be like courteous, and I'm the guy that like doesn't have a good filter. So I'm that guy that walks up to the guy unloading his kayak and goes, "Can I help you? Is there something I can help you with?" My 300-pound ass is standing there going, "Sir, do you need any assistance?" And then they usually kind of get the hint, but it's just not a good. I just can't deal with the stress of it. I fish to get away from people.
Well, so I myself personally, I'm usually pretty damn courteous, just as a rule. However, I will not be rushed.
Right.
Like I will not. Now, because I know that about myself, I try to stay the hell out of the way.
Right. Well, and that's what it is. So like what bothers me is like I get a lot of these guys that like when I get to I take a long time to set up. I know that because I'm not only setting up a kayak, I'm also rigging 2 cameras, GoPros. Sometimes when I get to the ramp, I'm
Can we
actually
talk
tying
about that?
baits.
Can we talk about that for a little bit? Can
Yeah.
we talk about that for a little bit? Dude, that is the very worst freaking part of owning Dark Horse Tackle. I am not
Yeah.
kidding you guys. I freaking hate it. I really do. I hate it. When I get on the water, all I want to do is go catch fish, bro. That's all I want to do. I want to be by myself, quiet, out there catching fish. I don't want to talk to a camera. I don't want to waste time setting up a camera. I don't want to waste time making sure that the camera's getting power, making sure that the SD card has enough space, making sure that the angle is good. Jesus Christ, dude, what a pain in the freaking ass. Like it really is. Like it really is. However, in this day and age and running a small business, I am certainly not going to pay for advertising. I'm not going to do it.
No.
So social media is the only advertising I get, and the only way that I get that, well, see, I guess I am paying for advertising. I pay with my time.
Well, and that's so the thing about the YouTube stuff is one of the things you can do is, and that's what I've learned is I bought certain things. So like I have this freaking monstrosity.
Mm-hmm.
So this locks into a rod holder, and then I don't have to adjust it. All this shit's tightened down.
Yep.
So I lock it in, and then I have a cord that goes from here to my kayak, and then I'm set up. That's one thing I learned quickly was like set it all up. That's actually got a freaking wireless mic adapter, a light, an umbrella, so if it rains, and I set it all up. But like you said, it still adds 20 minutes. Yeah, those are the best freaking. I actually want to go with my next camera is actually going to be a DJI Action 4.
I just got one.
Did you?
Yeah, so I have got the GoPro Hero 11.
Yeah.
I have the GoPro Hero 11. I've got it on a Yak Attack stick, their big one. It's like 50 inches freaking tall.
Yep.
I have that usually in the back on a mount. I've got it running to an external battery, obviously, because anybody that owns a GoPro knows you can't use a battery because it'll overheat in 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I've got, although I will tell you this, I found something really freaking cool, dude. It's called a sunshade.
Yep.
It's a company on eBay that they 3D print these things, and they just it's like a little hat that sits on top of the GoPro, and it makes a huge difference, dude. Like,
so that umbrella I bought because I got sick of the water causing that fisheye to screw up really bad. Because when water gets on your GoPro, it fucks the autofocus up to the point where you can't watch any of the footage. Right. What I didn't think about the fact is that sunshade, it acts as a sunshade. That umbrella, because it's open and it's black, it draws the sun to that instead of the camera. And it did save me a lot of overheating from that. Same concept. Now, that one you're talking about, I believe I've seen those. Those are actually, like, I think painted with, like, that UV resistant.
They're not painted. It's literally just 3D printed with white plastic. So white
deflects
white pushes away UV anyways. And it's made so that it sits about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch up off of your GoPro.
Gotcha.
So it creates that little bit of space barrier.
Yep.
And then it's got like little wings on the two sides and a little wing on the back.
Yep.
And it just
makes
it keeps enough sun off of it to buy you some more time.
Yeah.
I was out in straight sun for about 9 hours at about, I don't know, it was probably like 85 degrees. And it wasn't windy, but there was air movement. And air movement is the life's blood of a GoPro. If you do not have air moving, you are screwed. I don't care what you have going on. You have to have air moving. Even if you are using an external battery, you have to have air moving at least a little bit. If you don't, it will overheat no matter what you do. You are done.
And the worst part is it doesn't always tell you that it's overheating, and it looks like
and
it's
then you lose.
Recording.
Yeah. Yep. You lose it. Well, mine cuts every 15 minutes, I think.
Yep.
So yeah. So I caught 3 really good, like I'm talking like a 4-pounder, a 5-pounder, and like a really heavy 2.5-pounder, all in like 10 minutes.
Yep.
And then the thing overheated and I lost it.
Yep. And you go back.
And it was on a bait. It was on a bait that was coming out in the upcoming month's box. I was like,
that's the worst, dude. That's the worst, dude.
I was so mad, dude.
That's honestly why. So I went to DJI, not because they were cheaper.
They don't overheat.
They don't, dude. They don't. And I noticed that the one thing I like the most about them too, and the one thing that, not to shit on GoPro, but the one thing I noticed is I use a lot of like the voice stop start commands. With the GoPro, I've noticed the more you use it, it fucks up. Like it'll corrupt your cards if you constantly use like the stop recording, start recording. Why that is, I don't know, but I know I have a bunch of YouTube buddies and they've all said this. They've had the same.
Well, guess what?
Bobby told me the same thing.
Dude, they're never gonna fix it. You know why? Because everybody keeps buying GoPros.
Because they don't need to. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. They're never gonna fix that shit. They don't care that thing overheats because everybody's like, oh, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna buy a $2,500 camera, or am I gonna buy this $400 GoPro?
Yep.
Dude, I'm buying the $400 GoPro.
Yep.
And consequences be damned, because I can get at least closer to what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you look at those cameras that, dude, those like the real cameras. Like if you want to be a big boy, those cameras are expensive, dude.
Well,
however expensive the cameras are, the lenses are even more expensive.
Yep. And that's the funniest thing about it too, is like, so guys like Alex Rudd, for example, he has the Sony DSLR, but I've talked to him and he said he makes most of his videos now with his iPhone and DJIs.
iPhone like he has really, really good.
He has it, but he doesn't use it.
Little known fact, Apple has a deal with TikTok. And if you are recording on an iPhone, your shit will look better on TikTok.
It makes sense.
It will just straight look better.
Yep.
Yep,
that makes sense.
And it gets prioritized. Crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, the one I want to get, and next year I will invest in it. I buy a lot of cameras because what ends up happening for me is I end up dropping them in the water at some point, and I open them up and run them. So I have a Z Pro battery in my kayak. So I have a 30 amp hour lithium that I run my fish finder, and then I ran 2. They're actually motorcycle. They're the SAE to USB motorcycle adapter plugs. Mm-hmm. So I wired those into my kayak so that I can have USB power, so that I don't have to worry about charging battery banks and keeping all that like separated. I just charge one battery. Yep.
I have 2 of these. I only had one for the longest time. I just bought another one because I bought the DJI. Yep. Because I need 2 cameras on my kayak to make more interesting content.
It sucks that happens, but it is true. It really, and you'd be surprised how many videos I don't ever use the fucking back cam, but when you don't have the back cam, that's when something cool happens in front of you that you don't catch because the other camera.
Well, the other thing with the back cam, and I guess maybe I'm an idiot, but I haven't figured it out, but like, dude, every time something fucking cool happens, you can't see it because I'm in front of it. Every goddamn time.
Yep.
Like every damn time. It doesn't matter. It always happens like that, dude. Like every time, like you get like, I remember I had all my camera. I had my camera running Everything was good. Everything was golden. I had a 4-pound bass. Literally, it had to have come at least a foot and a half out of the water on a hit. Not me reeling it in.
Yep.
On a hit. Like, it hit my frog and it went like a foot and a half in the water. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I was right in front of it.
Yep. So all they get is your shoulder shrugging in excitement, but they don't actually get the Yep. That's the funniest thing, and that's the problem is once you start this like content journey, it almost feels dirty not to have a camera. Because when you don't, something happens every freaking time. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to fucking bring the cameras today. I just want to fish. And that's the day, like, so I actually had, I wish I'd gotten all of it, but that short I put up not that long ago, I had a loon try to eat my swim jig.
Oh, wow.
So I literally casted dead water, completely open water, nothing there. They were all underwater searching for fish. And as my fucking swim jig hits the water, they surface. And you see me go, fuck. And I'm like, giving it all it's got because I know they saw that and I saw the loon go right back under the water. And I am burning this cast. Like, it's a 7-speed reel and I was reeling it like it was a 10 at that point. And I literally get the bait just out of the water. And that loon was hot on its fucking tail all the way. I had to yank it. Almost hooked myself with the swim jig because that loon, if I had stopped reeling, was going to eat that swim jig.
Yeah, and you don't want to deal with that.
Dude, it's actually a crime here because they're an endangered species in Vermont.
Where are you?
So it's
where
actually in Vermont. That's why. So that's where those stupid lead laws. That's what they're for. The lead laws are because the fucking loons eat the baits. That's the reason for the lead law.
Dude, that drives me crazy because it drives me crazy because like it's like, all right, so yeah, no, everybody knows lead isn't good. Lead actually, little known fact, lead actually led to the downfall of the Roman Empire. All right, I gotta say it now, and here's why: they drank out of lead vessels.
Yep.
And you only drank out of lead vessels if you were well-to-do, if you were higher up, if you were important in Rome. So basically what happened is everybody that was in charge of Rome and everybody that was pulling the strings of Rome eventually went fucking mad because they were drinking out of lead vessels, and it actually led to the downfall of Rome. Anyways, but and so I'm thinking to myself, all right, so the water is toxic, we've got problems. You know what? Do you know who's at fault? In the Northeast, it is definitely the anglers. It's the anglers and these lead jigs and these lead weights and this terminal tangle. It has nothing to do with the industrial waste and the industrial revolution that completely destroyed every single waterway. It's definitely the anglers. So you know what? Let's make a law.
it's like Lake Champlain, Vermont. The paper mill in Ticonderoga was caught
Jesus Christ, dude,
dumping waste into that lake for years. But the problem is my 1/8 ounce split shot.
Yes, absolutely. So I my grandma and my jaja, they lived in North Tonawanda, New York. Real close to Niagara Falls.
Yep.
And maybe a mile from their house there was a paper mill. Dude, the smell of a paper mill is the worst part. And come full circle, here I am now. I'm a union millwright, and one of the places we go is a paper mill.
Yep.
Dude, I'm just not available when that job comes up.
Yeah, I can imagine. Dude, some of the lakes around here, so one of the lakes I grew up fishing, it was only like 15 years ago that they stopped making it, like they made it illegal to dump your sewer line into the lake. Like guys just, like they hooked their toilets up to their camps, and the way they put their water into the lake was they just ran a pipe with a cement block and they ran it far enough from their shore so it wouldn't come back to their beach.
But God help you if you've got a lead bullet weight.
Yeah, but that 1/16 ounce.
I'm gonna write you a ticket.
Yeah, that 1/16 ounce split shot.
How's that work, dude? Like, do they have like lead police?
So I'll tell you how it works for me on the live internet, and I'll probably see Fish and Game on Saturday. Nail polish, you paint it black and it looks like tungsten, and then they don't know what you're using.
But I'm saying, like, do you actually like?
No,
Have
I've
you
never
ever
been
had?
stopped.
You've never been stopped. Nobody's come
No.
up and
It's one of
said,
those. It's one of those like secondary deals. So like if they come up, so I will say.
So if you're drunk as shit on your boat, and then they pull you over because you're drunk as shit on your boat, and then you've got like a box of lead weights, they're gonna get you on that too.
So they'll do shit like, so the fishing game, and it's funny because like I said, I fished some, like, I fished Cayuga, I fished like Ontario, I fished bigger bodies of water. I've never been stopped more than in Vermont, and like they'll come up to you with the intention of giving you a ticket. So what they'll do is they'll see a silver thing on your line at a distance, and that's their excuse to come over to check you. Right? So then they'll come over and they'll say, "Oh, do you have your license?" And now at that time they're looking at your line and they'll see if you have any lead tied on, right? So this is how bad fishing game is here. I had a buddy that had this happen to him. He was on his boat. Fishing game came up to him, pulled up next to him, asked him, checked his licenses, asked to board his boat. They boarded his boat and they said, "Where's my life jacket?" And fined him for not having a life jacket because the Coast Guard was in his boat and he did not have enough life jackets for all the people in his boat. And what are you going to do? You're going to tell a cop, "No, you can't board my vessel"?
In my experience though, for someone to be treated like that by law enforcement, there's a reason.
Yeah.
You had to have been drawing attention to yourself. You had to have been doing something.
Yeah.
You had to have been doing something. If you're just a guy flying under the radar, 9 times out of 10, they're going to leave you alone. Like,
so in Vermont, the one thing they will do a lot is anybody with a motor and like a kayak. So anything that's motorized has to have a registration.
Okay.
Kayak,
that makes sense.
Rowboat, canoe, whatever.
It's an easy target.
So they will come over and, I mean, if you had a fucking inflatable pool floaty with a trolling motor on it, they're going to require you to have a registration sticker. Like, it does not matter what it is. So they will run over and like basically check you at that point. The thing is, anybody who's an actual fisherman has it sitting on their phone. Like, I literally have an album on my phone with all my fishing licenses for every state that I fish in. It's all screenshotted. It's there. All the stuff that I need is ready. Like my boat, I have the registration right under my seat, all that. But the whole lead thing, what it is it's a way for them to tack on more. So they're like, you don't have your license and you've got lead sinkers that are under, because here it's under a ½ ounce. And if it's attached to the hook, it's okay. So like a chatterbait is fine. A swim jig is fine to be lead. But if it's an actual weight,
single, by itself.
Because for some reason, apparently the loons are supposedly smart enough to not eat a swim jig. But if you go on Binya Outdoors at YouTube, you can watch one chase my fucking swim jig back to my kayak. So I don't know how true that is. But
so way back in 2020, 21, I want to say it was 21. I actually had put down my fishing poles for probably almost a decade. And I was up in Erie building a FedEx conveyor line. And I had a little bit of time on my hands over the weekend. Companies paying for the hotel, the whole 9 yards. It was cool. Nice. But I was like, well, I'm making money. I'm here. And there's water. And the next thing I know, literally, like I'm some kind of addict.
Yep.
I was standing there at the cash register of what was it, Sportsman's Warehouse up there, I think, with like 3 fishing poles, 3 reels, and a basket full of tackle.
Yep.
Checked out, bought it, but I went to I went to go fishing, and I was fishing a marina. And dude, I one of the baits I had bought was a walking bait, and like a head and spook,
Yep,
spook style bait. Dude, trying to fish one of those with seagulls around is
Yep.
It's intense, dude.
Yep. It is.
It's
We have
intense.
a lot of lakes I fish have snapping turtles,
Yeah.
and they're the same way. If they see like a spook bopping back and forth, they'll
We'll
pop
see.
up.
That's crazy. Around here in Pittsburgh, we got a lot of there's a very heavy Italian uh, population here, and a lot of those old guys love turtle soup. It's not illegal. You're allowed to do it. No harm
Right.
done.
Yep.
So they all use rotten pepperoni, rotten salami,
Yep.
rotten anything like that on a big old hook. We never have problems with turtles, man. Those guys get it done.
I was gonna say they clean them out. It's funny because we have like manhole cover size ones in my home lake. Like,
Yeah.
fucking big ones.
Yeah.
And one of the first times I ever encountered them, dude, and I think they do it to fuck with humans. Like, I think they have enough intelligence that they know what they're doing, because you'll be in your kayak and then all of a sudden you'll just see, like they just float up an inch from your kayak and then they look at you and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, and you're
Because
talking
if they
about,
decided to clamp on a plastic boat, I'm screwed. Like, if he
you're
tries to
talking
get in my
about one
boat
of
with me,
those.
I'm done.
You're talking about one of the turtles that's like could have the world on its back. Like if you can,
Yeah.
everybody's seen those pictures before where it's like the whole entire world is on a turtle's back. Yeah, like
Yep.
like trees are growing out of it and shit.
Yeah, they're mangled. Like the snapper turtle, they look like something out of a horror movie. Like,
Yeah.
they've been hit by 7 boat propellers. Like, they're beat up. Half of their jaws like hanging. Like, they're just
I've
creepy.
seen a few of them. I've actually seen a few of them on Lake Arthur, and they're crazy because it's like there's a whole ecosystem on their back. Like there's shit growing on there.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
how long have you been in this lake, man? Like,
Yep.
it's kind of nuts.
Well,
It's kind of.
I don't know if you've seen my video, but I actually cock blocked a turtle last year, and I didn't know I was doing it. So, dude, I saw this turtle, and it was in a weird fucking angle. And it was just floating in the middle of the lake, and I was like, "What the hell?" So I drove, and I was in my bass boat, so I kind of trolled over to it, and I got close to it, and I'm like, "Oh, there's 2 of them. That's cool." So, content creator, phone, trying to film. Look at this snapping turtle. I didn't realize that the reason there was 2 of them was one was under the other one, and they were trying to make baby turtles while the female swam away from the male because I was too close. And literally the male tried to board my boat. He was so pissed off. He chased me in a circle for like 5 minutes.
Was he trying to board your boat, or was he trying to stick your boat?
I think he may have been trying to do both. He literally got his like claw things on the back of my transom and was starting to pull into my boat. And I had my trolling motor, so I cranked my trolling motor and spun. Luckily, he fell off and then kicked the big motor on and started leaving because he was in pursuit of me. I pissed him off.
That's crazy, dude. Hey, Binya, can you give me like 2 minutes, dude?
Absolutely.
I need to go see a man about a horse real quick, and I'm also
good.
out of things to drink.
No, you're good.
All right, buddy.
So, guys, I actually wanted to, while he's going, I wanted to clear up, for those of you who didn't see my show on Sunday, I'm changing the giveaway a little bit. I'm going to be doing something a little simpler. I realize it's a little bit, I guess kind of predatory to ask you guys to buy something to get entered. So what we're going to do now is, if you catch a fish with a reaction tackle bait, tag me and Reaction Tackle in a photo on Instagram, and that's your entry. Same thing with FX rods. If you catch one with FX rods, put the rod in the photo as best you can. I know it's a rod, so it's a little harder. Tag me and FX Customs, and if you catch a bait, fish with an A-Bay bait, same rules apply. Every time you do that, it's going to be an entry into the drawing. I'm going to be doing probably 1 or 2 drawings, but I also have some braid to give you guys from Reaction Tackle. So to get a bonus entry, we're going to do live streams every week. I'm going to ask a question. So today's question is going to be, if you get this answer right and put it in the chat of this live stream, you will be entered into the drawing. What color is my first kayak that I did YouTube with? If you can answer that question in the chat, you'll be entered into the drawing for some Reaction Tackle braid, and we'll be doing probably once a month drawing for the braid giveaways. So if you guys have that information, throw that in there. I might even start if this really does work in the way I want it to, and have positive results. I might even talk to somebody that owns a base subscription box and maybe work on getting some other prizes involved too. So I was telling them,
buddy?
So I'm doing a giveaway for a couple of my show partners, A-Bay being one of them. Basically, if they, it's kind of like what you guys do for your entry in the Golden Ticket stuff, is if they take a photo of a fish caught with a Reaction Tackle bait, tag me in Reaction Tackle, they get an entry into a giveaway kind of deal. Just trying to, promote the companies that.
Well, hey man, I'll tell you what, I will set aside one of our special edition July River boxes for Binya Outdoors.
Okay.
And you're gonna do a prize thing. We'll send it out to whoever you want us to.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. There's another prize. I actually want to talk to you possibly offline. I'm doing a benefit tournament.
Okay.
In August, and it's going to be. I'm looking for a few companies to help me out with that. I'll give my viewers on here a quick preview. Basically, it's going to be a charity tournament for Punt Foundation. I'm working with Rudd on that one.
Gotcha.
But I'm trying to get a few companies to donate prizes, because all the proceeds, anything that doesn't go into Tourney X fees, is going to them. And I don't
even throw in a bunch of my baits I talked to Rudd a little bit in Michigan about the Punt Foundation, and hopefully we can. We're looking to have a button. I mean, hell, dude. I mean, they do it at the grocery store. They do it at the gas station. They even do it at the convenience store. I'm looking for a button when you go to check out, that if you'd like to.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
little donation thing. I mean?
Yeah, dude, if you'd like to help out. My only thing is I don't want to know about that money. I don't want to see that money. Right. I want that button to be hit, and I want it to go somewhere else.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I'm too honed into money. Now, that being said, it's just because I grew up poor, man. Hey, man, do you got your phone with you?
I do, yeah.
You should check out the pictures I sent you, bro.
I don't know.
I sent you 4 photos.
You just went to the bathroom. Should I look at these online? Or...
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We want to see your reaction. Everybody does. Everybody wants to see them.
I've done that, dude. I've done that. When did that?
Dude, that's a number 1 vector hook. That's a freaking gaff, dude. I just did that like 2 weeks ago.
That right there is the reason I carry barb cutters in my kayak. So my wife was with me the first time I did that. It was fun.
Dude, that was bad. I've done it. I've done that a few times because listen, when you're hooking baits and you're moving and grooving and you slip, it just is what it is. You're on like number 254, right? And you're getting a little bit tired and you slip. Like, it just happens, man. There's nothing you can do about it. But the neat part about that, if in any case anybody's wondering, I put a really big hook in my finger. Yeah. But hold on, let me find the camera here. You see this finger? Yeah. It looks more like a hoof. I put this finger through a table saw in like 2002. So this fingertip is full of scar tissue. That is the finger that I put that hook into. Dude, what a beast it was trying to get it out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It just wouldn't go. I got a pair of big ass linesman's pliers on it. And I'm like pulling on it.
Yep. Yep. So I had 2 in a matter of 3 weeks. So I hooked a small, like, little dink bass on a crankbait, and I had him lipped, and I was trying to get the hook out, and he jumped and did the same thing you did. But when he jumped, the treble hook went through my thumb, and then he fell. So now I'm holding the fish while the hook's in my freaking hand. So I'm trying to, I literally had to pin the fish to my body, get him unhooked, and then use my split ring pliers to get the crankbait off my hand, and then drove to my dad's house with this freaking treble hook sticking out of my finger because I didn't have any barb cutters. And then the
So,
second one was the most ashamed is I
uh-huh.
actually pinched one in my fat roll while sitting down because I had a rod in my arm and I sat down to
Hashtag
put my
fat guy
shoes on.
problems.
And I literally pinched it in my fat roll so deep I had to go get it surgically removed because it was all the way up to the fucking eye. And
Oh,
I couldn't get it. I couldn't get, like, my wife came in with the barb wasn't out. So it was like just the tip. The barb was still inside. So I couldn't
Just
get
the
it far
tip.
enough out. Yeah.
So when this happened to me, right? It was about 2:00. And it happened to me. Listen, I smoked since I was, oh, Jesus Christ, since I was 12 and a half. I smoked, and it only took me like 6 months to go from being 12 and a half to smoking a pack a day. And I smoked a pack a day all the way up until about 2-3 years ago. And I've been like slowly tapering off, to the point where now, like, if I run out of cigarettes, I'm like, meh, whatever. I'll get them tomorrow. No big deal. When before I'd be like,
Right.
I'm out of cigarettes. But anyways, so I put this fucking hook in my finger, and it happened to be one of the days where, like, I'll get them tomorrow. So I've got this big number 1 vector hook, treble hook in my finger, and I'm like, I got to get this thing out. I was like, all right, so I need to pour a shot, and I need to smoke a cigarette, and then we're going to get this thing done. I don't have any cigarettes. Dude, I'm not kidding you. I drove down to the gas station, bought a pack of
with
cigarettes.
the hook in your hand so you can do it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I stopped drinking liquor. I stopped drinking liquor at home probably about 2 years ago. And so I don't actually have my own liquor here. Now, my oldest son, he's 22, loves mixing drinks. He's got a whole array of shit. So I texted him. He's a banker. And I texted him and I said, boy, I'm going to need some of your rum. And we got it done.
The worst part about it is it's not even don't get me wrong, it hurts, but it's like the angle is always fucked up. Like there's no good way to pull it out. No. Not by yourself. You almost need someone else, but then you almost don't trust the other person to do it right. So then you feel like you need to take the control and do it yourself because you're like, you're not pulling at the right angle. Like it's the worst. That's why literally why I started carrying, and I don't just carry like barb cutters. Like I got like the spring loaded ones that like I could cut it with one hand. Like I don't need to like put pressure on them. Like I've got the ones that got actually like springs in them that give me compression.
Yeah, no, I just usually use a pair of linesman's pliers. For me, and this is crazy, but the worst part of that whole process, luckily, knock on wood, I have never done it to myself yet to where I couldn't push it through and cut the barb. Yeah. Okay, that hasn't happened yet, and I'm very glad about that. But hurting yourself more and pulling the thing through your fingers so that you can cut the barb off, it takes a little bit of I literally have to smoke a cigarette before I do it.
You need the mental fortitude because you're literally hurting yourself.
But it's not that bad. The part that is the worst for me is after you cut the barb and you pull that thing back out. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if it's what, but it makes me want to throw up.
Yep. So bad, the dumbest one I ever did is have you I'm sure you've seen like the Old Town kayaks, how they have those like mesh side pockets.
Yeah.
So I'll stuff baits in there sometimes. So one time I stuck a square bill in there and I wasn't paying attention, and the treble poked through the mesh, and I wasn't really paying attention. And I don't wear my shoes in my kayak. I put them behind me. I just pedal barefoot. I put my foot just at the right angle where the hook was facing this way, and I dragged my middle like toe across the treble. So I had this treble hook in my toe, and I'm now pinned to the side of my kayak and I can't figure out what direction the treble's in. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get down there. I'm not small, so bending down there is going to cause me to pass out from lack of oxygen long enough to figure out where the fucking hook is. So I'm like trying to figure out the right angle while I'm bleeding into my kayak because I was deep enough into my toe that it was actually filling my kayak with blood.
Holy
and I
shit.
eventually like got to the point where I like figured out where the bend of the hook was, grabbed it with my pliers, and just kicked my foot forward.
Good
and
Lord,
then like
man.
and then like I was just, and the worst thing is, and the funniest thing about that is like we were saying earlier, I didn't stop fishing because I only get so many hours to fish. So I stayed out there with an open wound in whatever fucking bacteria is in that water, fishing the rest of the day, waiting for my foot to clot up so I could catch more bass.
I got messed up on that last year. It was actually one of my most favorite boxes that we've ever done, and it's actually the anniversary coming up. We got a river box coming out, and that was July. So last year, 2023 July, we had a creek box coming out, and we made a video, and Josh and I went and did a wet wading session in a creek. And I had actually, up to that point, never done that. I had only ever waded a creek in hip waders, you know?
Yep.
But this was like old pair of shoes, shorts, just get in the damn creek and go. And it was a ton of fun. Caught a lot of really good smallies. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. But my shoes, I was like, old shoes. I was like, you know what? I actually have a pair of old shoes. Well, they were really, really freaking old and really beat up. And they were so beat up, they were old Vans that they had like the toe was actually would open a little bit.
They always did that, yeah.
So like they kept like filling up with rocks and my toes got like mangled, right?
Yep.
Dude, I ended up with an infection in between my toes. That was so freaking bad, dude. It took me like a week to get that thing going, man. Yeah. Like it was bad. So like, I guess a little, the more you know, be careful.
I'm always worried about that. I'm always worried about that when like I hook a pike. Like I'm a wimp and I take every pike off of a hook with the lip gripper because I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere near their teeth because they have so much shit in their mouth and then like, and their bacteria in their mouth makes you bleed more. So like you just bleed like crazy.
Check this out. So you got pickerel up there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So does the Pocomoke. My mom, she's like 73 now. She still gets out there by herself on a kayak. She's out there fishing, right? Nice. And it's the Eastern Shore. It gets hot down there. You know what I mean? So she's out there fishing, and it's a really hot day. This is probably about 5 years ago now, and she's got her feet like out over the sides of
I do
the
that.
kayak, just in the water a little bit, just kind of like the heels in the water, just to feel the cool water. You know what I mean?
I do it all the time.
And she's just kind of chilling. Dude, a pickerel come up and latch onto her heel. No, dude, like what the fuck? She didn't like have it follow a lure in or anything else.
Just
like
straight attacked
it
her
just
up.
saw a heel in the water and went for it. And their teeth got like they're kind of hooked.
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, she couldn't get the damn thing off. So, like, dude, can you imagine like freshwater problems, man?
Dude, I couldn't imagine how I would react to that too. Like, like, and I don't know what would be funnier is having it happen to you or watching someone else like trying to kick a pickerel off their heel. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Right, like you can't imagine. Well, she literally ended up she called my dad, and like with the pickerel on her heel, like rode over to where there was a bridge where my dad.
That thing was not giving up, man.
No.
That thing stayed for that
long.
Well,
it couldn't. Shit. Dude, it couldn't.
Oh yeah, because it probably
No,
lost
it
its.
couldn't get
Yeah,
off. She couldn't get it off because it was like
yeah.
this. You know what I mean?
It's like the alligator thing where they can't open their mouth anymore. Yep.
I've never
Yep.
heard anything like that before in my entire life. Not to mention, like, you think about it, like it's the Pokemoke. The Pokemoke is tidal. It's tidal because it connects to
Yeah.
the ocean. Dude, that thing could have bull sharks in it.
You could have. See, it's funny is I always have that fear in my head, and now you've kind of created an actual reality to it. Because I've always thought like, wonder what would happen if something came up and tried to bite my foot when my foot's in the water. But I'm like, nah, it ain't gonna fucking happen. There's
Well,
no way
I
they're that
mean,
dumb. But they
that's
apparently are.
that's pretty much like you see all these videos all the time where like somebody will take, I don't know, like a freaking hot dog or whatever, and they'll
Yep.
like slap the water with it a whole bunch, and all of a sudden this fish comes out of nowhere. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Dude, they don't need much.
Well, and the thing is,
They
you
don't
gotta think
need
about it
much.
too. They do fish. They do hunt by scent a little bit, and you're human, so you're putting scent in the water. So you're a living thing with
Put a
scent in
little
the
meat. Put a
water.
little meat in the water.
You're putting meat in the water. It's gonna happen. That's a good point, dude. I never thought. And the other thing that I always noticed is I don't know if you catch a lot of like pickerel in the lakes you're in, but like pickerel and pike, for some reason, they seem. It almost feels like they're always under your boat. Because every time I catch one, I always feel like they're shooting out from under my boat. Like I've caught so
Not
many of
here.
them right next to my kayak. Like right,
Not
they
here.
shoot out. No,
Not here. So we don't. So I'm in like southwestern Pennsylvania,
okay,
Pittsburgh, and we do not have pickerel. I have to drive at least 2 hours
okay,
east before I see pickerel. We do have pike. We absolutely do have pike. I have, and I do catch pike in my like at my home lake and stuff like that, and obviously they're in the rivers and creeks and everything else
right,
like that. But no, for me, they are always, they're at the end of my cast.
okay.
Always. I've never had one shoot out from underneath my boat, and that goes for muskie as well. Like now on the Pocomoke, when I'm down on the eastern shore and I'm fishing the Pocomoke, yeah, pickerel are fucking nuts.
Dude, it's crazy. They
They
come.
will
I call them
come
like
from
torpedo mode. Like yeah,
wherever, and they will not stop. I could
yep,
fish. I could get a hit off a pickerel. He could miss it completely. I can do it 10 more times, and he will fucking missile it 10
yep,
more times.
yep. I've had wacky rigs where like I've gone to set the hook, thought it was a bass, missed it, and then burned it across the top to cast it back in there and have the fucking pickerel shamu out of the water chasing this thing across the top. Like you can see it like chasing it and trying to nip it all the way back to the boat. And you're like,
They are
wow.
they are pike and pickerel, I've noticed, are very horizontal.
Yep.
Whereas bass are more vertical. So a bass will come up.
Yeah.
When those pickerel and pike hit, it's like a missile going across
Yep.
the top of the water. Whoosh!
I have videos of like choppos and like whopper ploppers where like you see like the water ripple right before the bait. Like it looks like a little torpedo zooming in because it's the same thing. Like you said, they line themselves up horizontally and then they just shoot at it every time, which sucks too because there's like I've gotten pretty good at identifying that I got a pike on the line, but every once in a while you catch a little pike or a little pickerel and you're like, oh my god, this is a 5-pounder because the way they hit, you get that adrenaline boost, like, oh man, this is a monster, and then you get it into the boat and you're like, oh, it's a fucking 16-inch pickerel.
Dude, my favorite thing, so I told you my lake's got a lot of grass on it. And I can't tell you how many times you get this topwater hit on whatever you're fishing. And for whatever reason, dude, it is like it sounded like God punched the water.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you're like, holy shit. And you set the hook. And when you set the hook and you feel something going on the other end of the line. So you're on something. You got something, right? and then you start reeling, and it's heavy. I mean, it's
Yep.
heavy.
Yep.
And you're pulling and you're pulling and you're pulling, and coming towards you is this entire bowl of salad.
Yep.
And you're pulling and you're like, oh my God, dude, it's like Christmas. You're unwrapping a present. And you start pulling and you start pulling and you're pulling the grass off and you're pulling the grass off. And then there's a 10-inch bass underneath.
Yep, dude. Yep, I've done that so many times. Happens a lot to me with hollow-bellied frogs. So you'll set that, you do that home run hook set, you drag back half of the fucking lily pads.
Like you've already convinced yourself that there is a monster on the end of your hook.
Yep. And the worst part for me is I'm a content creator, so that's in 4K 60.
Oh yeah.
And I have to then put it on as a short just to pick on myself, because at that point I'm just like, oh yeah, that was not. And the whole time, I'm going, that's a big one. That might be PB. I don't know. This is a big one. And then you get it back and you're like, okay. And then you're like, oh yeah. No,
so that's actually something else that I've noticed. And it's not specific to content creators. It is also specific to tournament anglers, especially pro tournament anglers that are being recorded on camera. So normally the way perspective works is the further away something is, the smaller it appears.
Right.
It is exactly opposite in the fishing world.
Yep.
The further away something is, the larger it seems.
Yep.
And then you watch them and they hook into it. They're like, oh my God, it's a big one. It's a big one. Oh my God, this is a big one. This might be my PB. Oh my God. And they're reeling and there's this big show and the rod's bending and everything's going on. And then as it gets closer, they're like, all right, well, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. Oh man, he was angry. He was really fighting. It's not that big. Oh my God, dude, it's not that big. Oh, and then they pull it up into the boat and it's like a little thing. Yep. But dude, it happens all the time. I watch it all the time. It's hilarious. It is like the reverse. It is the reverse of actual perspective. Like things are supposed to look small and then get bigger as they come towards you. In the fishing world, things are huge the further away there are. And then as they get closer to you, they get smaller.
I think some of that from the content side too is like you get this like I've got to the point now where it's actually bad. I don't think about the cameras at all. Like I don't even realize they're there half of the time. You don't know how many stuff that's more suited for OnlyFans and YouTube that's been on my cameras. Because I forget that they're rolling, So but like a lot of the times when I hook a fish that I feel like is big, my content creator brain goes, okay, we need a hook. So then I'm like, oh, it's a big. This might be a good one. So like I'm saying that because I know at some point I'm probably going to use that footage. So like I'm trying to dictate this might be a big fish to build the anticipation for the
the law of averages.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to be right.
But like my buddy that does YouTube, he always gives me so much shit because he's like, "Is it a big one? Was that a big one?" Because he always gives me shit because I'm like, "Dude, my bad." Like
So the way I have my shit set up is I have a external battery that I know will last at least 9 hours.
Yep.
I have a 512 gig SD card.
Yep.
I turn it on when I start, and I turn it off when I stop.
Yep. So
and
the only thing I do differently, which I will save you some editing time, is stop it after you catch a fish. Because then
I know Josh always tells me all the time, but like
it's hard to remember to do it.
Well, it's not, dude. It's not that. The best stuff I record happens when the camera is off.
Yep.
So my trick is to not know that the camera is on.
Yep.
So I turn it on when I start, and that is it. That is the last time I think about it.
No, it makes sense. So my buddy that does Bear, my Canadian buddy that does YouTube, he pisses me off because he is constantly starting and stopping and starting and stopping his camera. Because he's trying to conserve memory cards because he doesn't listen to me. Because he believes the manual. Because if you read the manual for GoPro, you can't use anything bigger than a 64 gig card.
Extreme
That's
Pro
yeah.
SanDisk, Extreme Pro 512. I've had people bitch about it all the time, but I have two now. I have two 512 Extreme Pro SanDisk
Right there.
SD cards. They are
Yep.
512 gigabytes. I have
Yep.
literally never had one single corrupted file ever.
Right there, baby. That's
It's never happened. I have
yep.
people bitch about it all the time. They're like, my files are always corrupted. I
Yep.
don't know what they're
Nope.
talking about. So I do know this. Before I start the day, like when I turn my GoPro on, the very first thing I do is I use the GoPro to format the SD card.
Yep. I do too. That's how I
That's
clear
the
mine.
very first thing I do.
Yep.
And then I don't fuck with it
Yep.
until I pull the footage off and I'm done. And if I don't know, that's my formula. And the only time I've ever lost footage was because of overheating. I've never
So
had corrupted files.
the only thing I like I said, the only thing I do differently, and that's because a lot of my stuff is more like, okay, guys, so today we're fishing this bait and we're using this technique. So like I will, and it's funny because when you go back and play it, my wife gets annoyed because like I'll have 5 videos in a row that will end with "fuck that was garbage, don't fucking use this video," and then I stop. Because what I do is I go back and I watch the last 30 when I'm editing, I watch the last like 30 seconds of all my videos. If I'm holding up a fish, then I label it largemouth 1, largemouth 2, largemouth 3. Or if at the end of every video that I like do a talking segment that it's valid, I'll do a hand gesture like that. So then I can go back. It just saves me the time. But like you said, what does happen is I will be stopping my camera and then I cast, and that's when you get that big blow up or you get that big thing because you didn't start the camera. So then you have to start it, but then you're like mid reel and then you don't get anything.
Absolutely, dude. There's something else very interesting. I'm a very firm believer in that whenever it is that you stop learning, that is actually when you're about to die. Okay. So I'm always looking to learn. And I think I mentioned her before, Paige. She has a very, 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 very solid TikTok following. She does very good on there. And she invited me up to go bank fishing on the Allegheny River. And I don't do a lot of bank fishing, especially on rivers. I never liked it because I feel trapped.
Yep.
But Paige is a freaking hammer. Like, she's a freaking hammer. So I went up there thinking, okay, like I'm gonna learn some shit today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't learn a whole lot about fishing, but I learned a lot about content creation.
Mm-hmm.
Watching what Paige does and what she decides to film and when she decides to film and what she decides to record was freaking amazing, dude. Like, the things that I personally was like, all right, well, this is fucking garbage. It's not garbage.
Yep. You learn.
That's
the
the
first thing you
shit.
learn.
Like, that's the shit that actually makes people watch her freaking videos.
Yep. Yep.
Like, the fish catch at the end is kind of just like a little cherry on top. It's not actually why people are watching the videos. Like, I learned a whole lot, dude. Like, and it really is crazy. Like, a lot of people get into this, and myself included. Like, you get into it and you're trying to make content and you're thinking, all right, so I need hook sets, I need big fish, I need this, I need that, and this is the formula. But dude, you're freaking wrong.
Yep.
Like, you are wrong. It is literally everything that happens in between that is actually more important.
The thing I learned is that the fishing industry is so oversaturated with videos of people catching fish.
Yep.
That that's why I started doing a live stream. The whole reason I have a podcast is because I realized that it's more important for me to show people me and have them invest in my personality instead of my ability to catch fish. Because let's be honest, most fishermen can catch a big fish and put it on
Yep.
camera. It's not that good. It is. It's a bragging thing, but like it isn't. Like anybody could catch a 5-pounder. There's no actual rule that says if there's a 5-pounder in your lake, you could catch it. I mean, you
There
could
are
catch
a
it on a
few
Senko, a
guys
hot
out
dog,
there.
or whatever.
There are a few guys out there, and a very, very select few. There are a few guys out there that have catching big fish of whatever species it is that you're going after down to a science.
Right.
And they are known for it. But everybody else, listen, if you just caught your PB, 80% of that was luck.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't give a shit what you say.
No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. So, like, just for an example, like people talk about certain baits that, like, catch bigger fish or whatever. Every fish I caught that was over 20 inches this year was on a fucking wacky rig. It wasn't on an 8-inch glide bait. It wasn't on a deep diving crankbait. It wasn't on a full ounce jig. It was on a 5-inch yum dinger on a wacky rig, weightless wacky rig hook. So like doesn't matter.
That's actually something that Josh and I. It's something. Whenever you subscribe to Dark Horse Tackle, that is something that we are selling you that I don't think a lot of people understand that they are buying. We're not necessarily selling you baits.
No.
We are selling you confidence.
Yep.
We're selling you something that you will see and hopefully be like, oh my God, you know what? This lure, this bait, this is the one. I like this.
Yep.
There's something crazy about this one right here. This is the one. And because you feel that way, you are going to throw it and throw it and throw it and throw it. And law of averages says that if you keep throwing it, eventually you're going to catch a really big damn fish on it.
Well, that's the thing you learn.
Was it the bait?
Too.
Was it the bait?
Probably not.
It maybe, but who knows? But I'll tell you what it definitely was. So you hear this is something I go back and forth with people on all the time. I like to call it the Barnum and Bailey effect. So you always hear guys. It became popular a couple years ago. Oh well, actually, it became popular longer than that. But social media has made it even more popular. These lures are these are made to catch fishermen, not fish. Being a guy that for a living sells baits, I'm going to tell you right now, if I don't catch a fisherman, he will never catch a fish on that bait.
Yep. No, it's true. Like the thing I always say about baits is like I believe my personal belief is that your confidence transfers down the line. And what happens is, and this is something that I learned from content, the baits that I use the most, the baits that I have the most confidence in, when you go back and watch that footage, you do weird little shit with that bait because you fish it a lot. You twitch it just right. You stutter your reel just right. And that's the thing that makes that bait effective. But it's because you have so much time invested in that bait that you instinctually do those little fucking things. Like with the wacky rig. When I fish a wacky rig, my buddy that fishes with me will fish the exact same bait, right? But the thing is he fishes his very active. He's fishing it, jerking it, moving it around. I basically dead stick mine and I'll pop my reel a couple times. But the thing is, I've noticed when I watch the video back, and I'm sure you've seen this on your stuff too. So many times I've been reeling a retrieve like a crankbait. Stop, itch my face. Boom, fish on.
Dude, because
it's like those little things.
Always hit when you're not looking.
Yep.
I've actually on purpose before. I'm gonna have to publish this. But you can clearly see me playing the game. I'm throwing a frog on the Pokemoke. And you can clearly see me playing the I'm not looking game.
Yep.
You can see me do it on purpose.
Yep.
Like I'm throwing this frog, right? And I'm watching it, and I'm working it, and I'm working it, and finally I'm like, all right. And I turn my head like this. And I keep working it. Dude, sure enough, like 2
Every
seconds
time. Especially top water. There is something about top water too. It's every freaking time. It's when you don't see the fish hit. It's when you hear the fish hit because you're not paying attention.
It's gotta be. It's literally has to be. Like there has to be a reason behind it. Like there has
you're changing your cadence or doing something when you're not paying.
You turning your head. You turning your
Yep.
head and not looking caused you to do something different that was just the right thing.
So I noticed when I started listening like a lot of podcasts and stuff when I fish, and I noticed that like if I'm having a bad day of fishing and I'm not catching, I will pop in a podcast and just zone out, and then I'll start catching. And I think it's the same thing. I think I do something differently when I'm listening and kind of half paying attention to what's going on in the podcast. I'm not putting thought into how I'm retrieving a bait, and that's causing me to do something funky.
You let go.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you let go a little bit.
Yep. And you reel a little faster, a little slower, or you're doing something.
Dude, this has been I've really enjoyed this, man. I've really enjoyed this. We should do this again sometime, but it is 10:40 damn near.
Yep.
And I've got an attitude adjustment day that I'm staring down that I intend to take full advantage of. Not only that, but my son has cooked 2 steaks.
Nice.
And some baked potatoes.
Sweet.
And I'm smelling the air up here, and they're damn near close to getting done. So, dude, Mike, I really appreciate this, dude. I'd be happy to come on whenever, dude.
I'm going weekly, so I'm gonna need a co-host at times.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
So if you guys haven't, I will tell you right now, before you think I don't put my money where my mouth is. I buy the boxes too. I don't get these for free. I pay full price for them. I order them from these guys. If you want a box that you're going to get that doesn't have something that you're going to get at Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart or Academy, you want to have that bait that the guy that you're fishing next to doesn't have, get this box. Because I'll tell you, I've gotten a lot of stuff that I use, and I've discovered a lot of companies that I didn't know existed. And that's the cool thing about it is you're not getting, and I'm just going to throw out a brand, and I'll probably never get sponsored by them, but you're not getting Strike King Lose. You're getting Joe Blow in his basement with an airbrush doing a really cool design. You're getting the guy that's hand bending his wire baits and making a bunch for Zach to be able to sell you guys. And that's
something I like
cool
to say all the time is that it's like this. It's like you're down at the lake and a buddy goes, "Hey man, Joe down there down the street, he's making these jigs, dude, and they are like, that is it. It is the thing. Like that's what they are biting." That is what goes into a Dark Horse tackle box.
Yep. If you ever found that weird bait in that local tackle store that only the local guy has, these guys are calling those guys and saying, "Hey, give me some." So if you guys are, I'm telling you, I've done them all, and I won't name names, but I've done 4 or 5 of them, and I found that the ones I was getting were like, I could buy this tomorrow at Tackle Warehouse. The difference with Dark Horse is you're not going to go on Tackle Warehouse and order
I feel like
Lure Lab crankbait or a Stoneman Lures paint job or
a lot of those boxes, like the surprise really isn't there.
No, because
all of us that are anglers have already walked down those aisles 56,000 freaking times.
Yep.
We've already seen that shit. And hey, listen. We put jigs in our box. We put square bills in our box, and we've all seen jigs and we've all seen square bills. But what I can say is at least ours are a little different. We've got special paint jobs, hand painted stuff that you haven't seen before. Our jigs are 99% of the time. There's one or two companies that we do feature occasionally that do not hand tie their jigs, but there's a reason for that. It's because they've got other proprietary designs involved in their jigs that make it worth it. But a lot of times, most times, our jigs are hand tied, which means they're going to last longer. Like, there's a lot of little neat shit that these small businesses do that make these baits just a little more special than anything else.
I'll throw this in there just to sound even more salesy and pitch it for them. They're giving them to you guys with Vector hooks. They're putting hooks on them. You're not getting Walmart treble hooks. You're not getting crappy, not sharp treble hooks that you have to take off and immediately replace.
Let me figure out my camera here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what he put in his hand, guys. This is what he was talking about.
That's exactly what I put in my hand.
Yeah, actually. that's the hook right there. That's the size that he's talking about. But yeah, so that's one thing. If anybody has been fishing for any time, you know, and you know what brands they are, and I'm not going to name them, they're not giving you a good hook. They're giving you a crappy hook that you're probably going to end up replacing. These guys are sending you. They don't even. They tell the bait guys not to send them hooks that they'll put
that's
them
right
for them.
No, I put the I specifically, Josh hates doing it, so I'm faster at it, I'm better at it, so I just do it. I specifically literally hook damn near every single bait that goes into anything from Dark Horse Tackle that you get that has a treble hook. And actually something I would like to point out is we are actually a vendor for Dark Horse Tackle. So we have on our site, we have their light wire offset hooks. We've got their EWGs. We've got their Mayhem flipping hooks, which if you flip, you need to try a Mayhem flipping hook. They are badass. Something about Vector that not a lot of people understand. Every Vector hook, no matter what, even though it is for freshwater, is actually rated for saltwater.
Yep.
Dude, you have to try really hard to get these hooks to rust out. Like,
I will tell you guys
really hard.
I buy hooks from them to put on my crankbaits. That's where I get them.
They're badass.
So, I mean, the treble hook, those tornado trebles are awesome.
And it's an American small business. Cool as shit. Binya, hey, dude, thank you so much, man.
So we're going to end it right here. I'm going to let the man go recover and get ready for his fishing day. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. He's on Instagram. He's on all the social medias. You can find Dark Horse just about everywhere. So hit them up. And, we're going to bail out, guys.
Later, dude.